mud. Spring in this climate might pass unheeded were it not for the sorrow of mud. Nonetheless we love the green rain, the lemon surprise of forsythia, the dark-skied days full of the stuff of moonbeams, silken as laughter, crystalline as pain. We are mired in this life as if in a bog of no release. The rain changes to whitewater. We are a raft. Thank you all for being here today. My name is Patricia Schwartz. I am a lifelong writer whose father recited Poe at the dinner table. I have always been in love with language and its infinite possibilities, both sound and sense. I write to document who I am, where I've come from, poems as memoir, who others are. Some of my poems relate the histories of those without words. In both cases, poetry is storytelling. I hope you enjoy this reading. These next two poems are from my childhood in West Virginia. Going for pansies with my mother. Flat-faced flowers, you had to have them black, purple, butter yellow, just like you had to have unfiltered camels. Chili dog luncheons at the Diamond Department Store cafeteria with your career gal friends. Coca-Cola forbidden to children. Hershey bars hidden inside your sewing cabinet. The rutted road we took, you at the wheel, me riding next to you, the only special trip we ever made, just us two, lay deep in the hollows beyond our GI Bill fresh dug suburb. Each time the little house would loom up, not noticing right away the scraps of curtains. That first year we'd taken it for a chicken coop. The rows of bright annuals lined up for sale in flats by the sagging porch, all the beauty there. The folded bills you always slipped her, that other mother, went into the washed-out apron hanging over her bag of a dress. I don't remember her eyes, nor those of the girl my age, who one year got way taller than me, then on her rail-thin frame, surprising breasts. The last year she hid, the girl, halfway out the doorway, her body racked with a cough, even though it was almost summer. Before we left, I saw you walk out behind the house with an old shopping bag from the Diamond, to where the mother was pegging out on a line huge denim overalls. As we drove away, I felt almost against my will, my head turn, saw my sweater from last season, too small for me, too small for the girl, draped over her shoulders. Back home then, together, into the dirt of our steep, terraced backyard garden, we rooted the little pansies. Daily it became my job to water them from the hose. Flooding their roots, I just stand there, hating you, hating me, the girl, hearing that cough, meeting the pansies' empty gaze. Birds of West Virginia. Under the title is a quote by Rilke. Long afternoons of childhood, not really life. Once the ennui of school finally released you, you'd perch in that room that really, after his insurance adjuster day, belonged to your father. His den, because he had painted it the green of a deep wood, upholstered himself an old easy chair in burgundy fabric, hung in the window by a thread, a glass jewel that splattered rainbows all over the forest walls. permitted to use his small desk, still in your scratchy school dresses, dark plaid, white at the neck. You'd bend down over notebook paper with fine colored pencils, copying from field guides all of the birds of West Virginia. Males only. Female plumage so drab, their markings plain. Your favorite was the state bird, the tufted titmouse. Later changed by decree to the cardinal, disappointing you who so loved the little titmouse, modest yet unique, unlike the flashier cardinal claimed by several states. You loved West Virginia, too, its map, so much fancier than the plain rectangles of Iowa or Wyoming, and often drew it. Those curving outlines that spoke of rivers, the two panhandles, one skinny and tall, the other chunky and broad. Then you'd nestle down into your father's chair, with its rows of brass tacks neatly hammered in, where fabric edges met scarred wood. You'd read Heidi over and over, then next year all the Nancy Drews, in order of publication, despairing the missing titles you had to skip over. After supper, the room became again his eyrie. He'd urge you not to copy the birds, but to draw them freehand, not understanding how that way they could not possibly be good enough. He'd praise your poems, but correct them too, explaining iambic, pentameter, spouting Poe till you cried. So you would break apart as if slapped, both of you bewildered. He'd sink into his favorite, The Life of Da Vinci. The walls of the bedroom you shared with your sister, still papered with a cowboy motif the house had come with, the space down the middle, divided by an imaginary line you had drawn. You had to join her lying on the floor, filling in cartoon characters with her Crayolas in the living room, where your mother, mending, also sat. The three of you seeming so much like the birds your notebook never included, the ones nature insisted remain invisible. I'd now like to read from my new chapbook, No Better Poems of Resistance, which I started after the election of 2016. Kidding Ourselves, November 2016. Today I am kidding myself. I am wearing silly bracelets. My wrists are laughing. On my shower curtain a tree grows. Under a fragrant waterfall I stand, drenched. I like to watch Earth now as she appears from space. That blue and white marble Alice Walker realized was her blinded eye. I see how that eye is winking. Tonight, when my dog and I walk the dark field behind the silent house, the tale of the bear above trees tells us the time. The possum we almost stumble over stares out from the flashlight's beam, glassy eyes inside a pointy, feral face. Maybe it's laughing or winking our way. This time, the bear tells us, is that it is too late. No better. 1. The way things end is often slow, each step creeping up surreptitiously, a stealthy yet ravenous cat, almost ignored, named something else, even though we knew better. 2. Families in darkly furnished rooms, up late, small glasses of amber drained, voices low, talking, leaning closer, renaming, calculating. It won't. He can't. We can't. Let us wait it out. Should have known better. 3. The flower of light that blossomed over the sleeping city that ate up everything, leaving only ashen shadows of what had been mothers, workers, babies, was years coming to fruition in bunkers where white men scribbled on chalkboards, smoking, knowing better. 4. Only the flimsy barrier of a door before which bruised knuckles hang raised stands between later and now. There is no later. You hear your name. What did you know? Once on a trip to New Mexico, I encountered a group of World War II veterans in a motel. This poem sprang from the stories they told me and also from other times in my own life. Jacketed. While bombs dropped in the Mekong Delta, all senior year I wore around campus the blood-red Sergeant Pepper jacket with gold buttons I'd bought that summer on Carnaby Street with the last of my traveler's checks. Really, what it was the dress uniform of a soldier in the Boer War. Back then I weighed 105. It barely fit. How small he'd been and scared, I imagine. A company bugler, unsure of what he was fighting for, scared to die. The way we all felt the next year in Berkeley, when the tax squad of the Alameda County Sheriffs with their gold shields and flak jackets bombed us with tear gas in the university quad because we didn't want a park paved into a parking lot. That jacket also looked just like the one I saw today on a woman with streaky blonde hair in the Atlanta airport. Except hers had a shamrock sticked to the collar, and she probably marches in it on St. Patrick's Day, playing on a clarinet the same song her great-grandfather bugled at Gallipoli. Yesterday, in Albuquerque, at the Airport University Inn, I met a veteran attending his annual reunion with the 18th Bombardiers, who flew, he said, the Pacific Theater from 1932 through the Cold War. And I imagine him and his buddies, now portly in pastel golf shirts like now, but skinny like my Sergeant Pepper jacketed soldier on the veldt. The way they'd been, flying over Corregidor in their bomber jackets, like the one I have on now, khaki, with olive green botanical designs, except theirs were heavy, dark leather, no buttons, no gold. And like my young soldier, they'd been just as scared, just as unsure. Some of the 18th, the vets needed to say, had been lost on Bataan, marching. On the flight from Atlanta to home, the perky flight attendant in her cropped navy jacket with shiny braid asks us to write in a notebook she passes out along the rows. She'll send it, she says, in a care package over to the troops in Iraq. Everybody applauds, and she gives us blankets. As we lift into the gold-streaked sky, we're buttoned up tight, like the 18th on a mission, our individual hearts, lonely, open, like the hearts of the people they had to kill, who were scared too, and who had no warm blankets or jackets to cover them, in bunkers or trenches or bombed-out houses, and we're all marching, all of us, in a parade begun long before we were born, one that we show little sign of stopping before it stops us way out ahead of us. A small, scared, lonely bugler whom we follow, his jacket the color of blood all humans share.